Alright, hello everyone, welcome to another video on object-oriented programming with C++. In the last few videos, we had been reviewing some of the features of C++. So we did a few programming classes and then we did three review classes wherein we discussed in depth all these features that we saw in the programming class, right? So continuing that, let us look at two more features of C++ in this video. Alright, so those features are going to be virtual function and another form of virtual function called pure virtual function, and then using this pure virtual function how we make something called abstract class. So without further ado, let us begin today's class, right? So let me start writing the program wherein we are going to see all these features, and I'm going to start that by including IOStream. Alright, and then using namespace std. So these are pretty standard common things that we do in all programs, right? And I believe by now you should have a very good understanding of why these two lines are necessary in our program, right? Next, let me go ahead and create a class. So I'm going to create a class called animal, and in that class I'm going to have an attribute called name, right? So this is going to be a string, and it is going to be name, and let me set a default value to generic animal name. Alright, so this is what I have. Now let me use this class inside this main function. So I have this main function, and inside this class let me go ahead and create an object out of this class. So I am creating an object of this class animal, and I have named that object A, right? So what I can do is I can print this name of the animal, right? So and I am of course going to return with a 0 because this main function returns a integer, and then returning 0 means my program has exited successfully. Alright, so 0 means successful, any other number would mean there is some problem. Alright, so yeah, this is what I have done, and let me go ahead and compile this program. Now it should be very familiar to you. You should have a very good understanding of what should be the expected output of this program, right? Here I have created this class animal, and then there is this attribute name. This is a public attribute, so I can access it in my main function, right? This object A of class animal, I am accessing the name of this animal, and then this is what I have, this generic animal name that is being printed to my standard output, right? So let me make the output beautiful. Let me write a new line at the end, and this is what I have done. So let me recompile, and yeah, now I have the beautiful output on my standard output, my terminal. So it says generic animal name. Alright, now there is one more thing that I am going to do next. What I am going to do is I am going to create a animal pointer. So this is called ptr, okay, and I am going to use this pointer to point to this A object, right? So right now what I have on my screen is one pointer variable. So this pointer variable is supposed to point to an object of class animal, right? So that is what it says, animal pointer, and that is in fact pointing to an animal object. So A is a animal object, and when I write %A, I get the address of that object, and that object is being pointed to by this animal pointer. Alright, now if I try to use this pointer to access the name, right? So my pointer is pointing to an object, and now I am going to use this pointer to access the attribute of this object, right? So let me try that. Yes, I get an error. The error is because of a syntax problem that I have. This is a syntax error. when I use this pointer name, okay, when I use a pointer to an object in order to access this attribute or method of an object, I do not write dot, right? So with object name, I would have written object name dot attribute name or object name dot method name. Here I write object pointer arrow name attribute name or object pointer arrow method name, right? So this is a syntax difference that we have, right? So yes, this is what I have. Let me create a function. This is going to be void sound, and then it is going to print generic animal sound. Alright, now I can do the same thing. I can call this function using this pointer, and that is going to be fine, right? So let me go ahead and compile and run this. So let me do one thing. Once again, beautiful output, looks beautiful. So let me compile and run. So yes, it compiles and it runs, right? So in line number 16, when I access this ptr arrow name, I access the value of this variable name, this attribute name, and that says generic animal name, and that is what is printed into my standard output, right? And then in line number 17, I am calling this function sound, this method sound. So I call this method by writing ptr arrow function name sound. Alright. So when I call that function, what happens is this function is called, right? And then inside this function I have some code. Essentially this code, one line of code is what I have. This code is going to write generic animal sound into the standard output, my terminal, and that is what it is writing. So I get a general animal sound as the output because of line number 17, and this generic animal name as the output because of my line number 16. Right, so far so good, nothing new that we studied in here. Now one thing that I want to point out is that this object A, okay, this is being created in the stack of this main function. So right now when this main function is executing, I am creating this animal object A inside this main function. So this is a local variable inside my main function, and we know local variables are means local data. They are allocated memory in the stack. So this object animal would be allocated memory on the stack, right? So we will talk about memory in more details in the next class, right? So next class we are going to continue with today's theory through a presentation. I am going to take a pen and paper, my digital pen and digital paper, and then I am going to explain in further details. But then in today's class we are just going to go through these implementations, right? We are going to write program and see what is the output. Okay, what happens behind the scene is something we will leave for the next class, right? But still understand that we already discussed this in our previous video, that when I create local variables, they are allocated memory on the stack, but I don't want to allocate memory on the stack. I want to allocate memory for this object on the heap, right? So this is what I am going to do. I use this keyword new in order to create this animal object in the heap, right? So this is going to create right, I have a problem. It returns this new returns a pointer to this object, right? So I have this animal pointer pointing to this new animal, okay, an animal object that is created on the heap, right? So I access the attribute of that object, and I access this method sound of that object, right? So let me go ahead and compile this. In my program, the only change that I have made is previously my object was being created on the stack. Now I am creating this object on the heap, right. So apart from that, there is no other change. So there should not be any other change in my output, and therefore I don't have any change in my output. All right. So this is what I have. Now so far what we have done in this class is nothing new, right? So we have already seen all these things. We have talked about all these things in our previous videos. So there should be nothing new that you are looking at right now. Let me do one thing. Let me now create another class. So I am going to create a class called cat, right? And this is going to inherit from animal. Okay, so you know about inheritance, and this is what I have done. And in this I am going to have two public attribute. One is going to be int age. This is the age of the cat, and I am going to set that to 15. Alright, so it's a pretty old cat. And I have another function called eats, and I am going to say cout cat eats cat food. Okay, this is the string that I have that is going to be printed, and then I put a new line, and yeah, this is my cat method. So instead of this animal pointer, let me now create a cat pointer, and that is going to point to a cat object. Alright, so let me access the age of the cat. Let me access what the cat eats. So this line number 22, I am going to print the name of the cat, means whatever is there in the name string. Line number 23, I am going to print the age of the cat. Line number 24, I am going to print the sound, call this sound function, sound method, and line number 25, I am going to call this eats method. Right now, one thing that you can observe, and you understand this probably by now, is that this eats, this age attribute, and then this eats method, right? I have these two defined inside my cat function, right? So in line number 23, when I try to access this age attribute, that should not give me a problem. And in line number 24, when I access this eats method, that should not give me a problem. These are defined inside my cat function, and then this pointer that I am using to access, this is a cat pointer pointing to a cat object, right? So nothing means out of ordinary over here, right? But then here is the question that I have. In line number 23, I am trying to access the name of the cat, this name attribute, and in line number 24, I am trying to call this sound method, right? This sound method and then this name attribute. All right, these are not defined inside my cat class, right? So is this going to give me an error? So you should know by now that this is not going to give me an error, right? This is not going to give me an error. Why? Because this name attribute and this sound function, they are inherited from the parent class, that is the animal class. I have this defined in the animal class, and then this cat class inherits from the animal class. Therefore these attribute and methods that are defined in animal class are automatically inherited in cat class. That is, cat has two methods that are explicitly defined, right? So age is explicitly defined. In line number 14 you can see that this method each is explicitly defined. In line number 15 you can see that. But then this name and sound, right, this attribute name and then this method sound, these are also member of the cat function. These are implicitly, these are inherited from the animal class, right? This is what inheritance gives us. We already talked about this. Alright. So this is what I have. Let me go ahead and compile and run this program, and I should get line number 22. Okay, this line is printing the name, so it is saying generic animal name. This value that I had set in my parent class, that is inherited. Alright, so generic animal name, this value is also inherited. Then in line number 23 I am printing this age 15. In line number 24, when I call this sound method, I am printing generic animal sound. And in line number 25, when I call this eats method, it prints cat eats cat food. Okay, this is defined in my cat function. Okay, so I have all this. Now I can also do this thing. I can set, say, using this ptr. Okay, I can set value of name to say my cat's name is Kitty. Okay, and so I have set this attribute name to Kitty in my main function. I can do that. This is the public attribute. Okay, so let me go ahead and compile, and we can see that previously it was printing generic animal name. Now I have set the name to Kitty. Alright, so yeah, this is what I have. Now there is this one thing. Let me go ahead and try. I have a cat pointer that is pointing to a cat object, right? And before doing this, what did I do? I had this animal pointer pointing to an animal object, right? We saw both of these cases. Now let me go ahead and try to do this. Let me try to use a cat pointer to point to an animal object. Alright, so let me go ahead and try to compile, and I get a compilation error. So I can see that my cat pointer cannot point to an animal object, right? So what is the relation between cat and animal? Cat is the child or derived class, and animal is the base or parent class, right? So what do I understand from this? I understand that a child class cannot point to a parent class. Alright, so yeah, this is what I have. A child class is not able to point to a parent class. Alright, but means a child class pointer is not able to point to a parent class object. Okay, that is what I meant when I said a child class cannot point to a parent class. Now let me go ahead and try to do it the other way around. Okay, so I am going to write animal, and of course this is going to be true. Animal pointer can create a animal object, but then what will happen if I try to compile this? I am still going to get an error that this age and this eats, okay, they are not members of class animal, right? I have defined this age and eats in cat. These are not defined in animal. So let me remove this age and eats. Alright, so now everything should be fine. We had done this before. I set the name to Kitty, and then I print the name, so it prints Kitty into the output. Okay, and then I call the sound function, and that prints a generic animal sound into the output. Alright, so this is what I have. Now yeah, before I move on, let me do one thing. I had this cat pointer pointing to cat object, right? So when I had this cat pointer pointing to this cat object, let me remove this age and then this eats function. Let me just keep the sound function right now, and let me remove this as well, right? So let us just work with this sound function right now. Okay, so when I have a cat pointer pointing to a cat object, and when I use that pointer to call this sound method, I did not define the sound method in my cat class, right? This sound method is inherited from my parent class, that is my animal class. And in my animal class, this sound method was doing what? It was just printing generic animal sound into the standard output. right? And so when I call this sound method, the parent class, the animal class's sound method is called, and this string generic animal sound is printed into the standard output, right? The output is on your, you can see the output on the terminal, and as expected, whatever I expect the output to be, that is being printed into the terminal, right? So no surprises right now. Okay, now you know one more feature of C++. What I can do is I can override this sound function, right? So let me go ahead and override this sound function. So I write cout, and what is the sound that cat makes? It says meow, M-O-E-W, and meow, M-E-O-W, sorry. Let me put a new line. So this is what I have. Now I have done what I have. This sound method was inherited from the parent class, right? From the this cat class inherited this sound method from this animal class. Now I am erasing that sound method inside my cat class, and what I am doing is I am writing a new sound method, right? So what this feature is called is function overriding. Okay, so I have overridden this sound function, this old sound function that I have that was inherited in my cat class. So cat class already had a sound function that was inherited from animal. Now I am no longer going to use that sound function. I am redefining this sound function, right? This is what function overriding gives us. So that is what I am doing. I have this sound function, and I have given new meaning. So let me go ahead and compile, run this program, and I see that instead, now using this pointer, this cat pointer that was pointing to a cat object, now when I use this pointer to call this sound method, it prints meow meow into my terminal. Alright, so the sound function that is there in my this thing in my child class, that is being called, right? So previously when I did not define the sound function, the sound function that was there in my parent class, that was being called, that was inherited, and that was being called. But now this new overridden sound class, this new definition of sound that I made, not sound class, sound of method, this new definition of the sound method that I have, this new definition method is being used, right? So yeah, this is one more thing that you already know. Alright, so let's have that. Once again, let me try to create a cat pointer pointing to an animal object. Okay, let me go ahead and compile. I cannot do that. I get an error. So yes, my child class cannot. My child class pointer cannot point to a parent class object, right? Alright, I see that. Now let me do it the other way around. Let me have a animal pointer pointing to a child class object. So animal is my parent class and cat is my child class. So I have a parent class pointer, right, pointing to a child class object. So let me go ahead and try to compile now. Okay, so this is good. My program has compiled successfully. Alright, and it did not give any output because I did not do anything, right? So let me go ahead and do this thing. Let me set name equal to kitty, and let me print the name. Okay, so yes, fine, I have set name equal to kitty, and when I am printing the name, it prints kitty into the standard output. So this is good. Okay, my animal class pointer is pointing to a child class object, and I can use this animal class pointer to call my child class object. So that is good. Now let me go ahead and try to print the age, and let me go ahead and try to call this each method. Okay, and I get an error. Why do I get an error? Because of this reason. The error itself, if you look at it, it says class animal has no member called each. Okay, but then one point that first I need to observe is this: my pointer that is pointing to this object, my pointer is of type parent class. Alright, this object that this parent class pointer is pointing to, that object is of type child class. Alright, so a parent class pointer is pointing to a child class object. Now what is the thing that I am able to access? I am able to access the attribute that is common, that is there in animal, in my parent class, right? So in my parent class I have name, okay, and I have this sound function. We will soon talk about sound function, but right now just see this. I have this name attribute, and in my child class I have this age attribute and then this each method, right? So it seems when I have a parent class pointer pointing to a child class object, okay, I can access only those things which are already there in my parent class. So all these new things that I defined inside my child class, so this age and then this each, okay, I cannot access that using this parent class pointer. Alright, I hope that makes sense. Okay, so only those things that are there in my parent class, only those I can access. Although the object that I am using is of type child class, so the object is of type cat. Alright, it is not of type animal, but the pointer that is pointing to this cat object is of type animal, right? So yeah, I have this feature that my parent class can point to a child class, but what I do not have, I have this restriction that using this parent class pointer I can only access this members, these attributes and these methods which are there in my parent class. So all these other attributes and all these other methods that are defined in the child class, right? So in my child class I will have two types of things. I will have all these attributes and methods that I inherit from the parent class, and all these attributes and methods that I create inside my child class. So there are going to be two types of attributes and two types of methods. But then if I have a parent class pointer pointing to a child class object, I can only access those attributes and those methods which I inherit from the parent class. So only those that are already there in parent class. So this pointer only knows those things, right? So animal class pointer will know that this name is there, this sound is there, but then this pointer would not know that the child class would have something more. Those kind of things it does not know. So it says that class animal has no member called each. Very interesting. Alright, and this has lots of application. I will give you demo application today, but 2 classes down the line we are going to really see this in action, right? We will see the necessity of all this in action. Okay, why do I need a parent class pointer pointing to a child class object? That is going to be apparent. Means I am going to explain today. I am going to give you toy demonstration, but real world demonstration is something we are going to see very soon. Alright, so yeah, I have a animal class pointer pointing to a cat class object, and I cannot access age, I cannot access each. Alright, so I hope you understand now why I cannot access this, because animal class does not have these members, right? This each and this age, they are defined in the child class, cat class. It is not there in animal class. I am using an animal class pointer. I cannot point to something that is not in animal class. Means I cannot point to an attribute or a method that is not in animal class, right? So although I am pointing to a child class object, I can only access, using this parent class pointer, I can only access those members of the child class object which I inherit from the parent class. Alright, so a restriction, still a very good feature. Now let me do one thing. Let me remove, I was printing the name. Let me compile and run this before I remove that. So I set the name is there in my parent class, so I can access that. So I set this name attribute to Kitty, and I print this string attribute, right? So it prints kitty into my standard output, right? So far so good, nothing too much, alright, nothing too difficult to understand. I hope you have understood everything up to this point. Now let's go ahead and do this. I am going to use this parent class pointer, this animal class pointer, that is pointing to a child class object, right? So cat is a child class object. Now I am going to call this method sound. Alright, now what do I know about sound? Sound is there in my parent class, it is also there in my child class. So sound is overridden in sound class, right? So my pointer is this animal parent class pointer pointing to this animal class pointer, pointing to this child class object, my cat class object, right? So when I use this pointer pointing to a cat class object, and when I use this pointer to call this sound method, what is the sound that cat makes? Cat makes this meow meow sound, right? So I would expect that since my pointer is pointing to a cat object, it should print meow meow into the screen, right? What I am saying is when I call this sound method, the method that I have overridden in my child class, right, that should be called. Okay, that is my expectation. But when I go ahead and execute, compile and run this, I see that instead of calling this child class method, right, the sound method is there both in my parent class and in my child class. So instead of calling this method that is there in my child class, I am calling this method that is there in my parent class, right? So what did I do? I had a animal object, animal class pointer pointing to a child cat class object. Okay, so in both animal class and cat class I have this method called sound. Now I am using this pointer that is pointing, this animal class pointer that is pointing to a child class object. So when I use this pointer to call this sound method, instead of calling this method that is there in my child class, my method that was there in my animal class is being called, right? So I had overridden this function sound, but I am not getting this overridden function. I am not calling this overridden function. I am calling that original function that I had. Okay, so this is something that I don't want. Okay, so that is a problem. I have to resolve this problem. Of course, if there is a problem, then we have to find solution and resolve the problem. The solution is pretty simple. This is a feature of C++. I just write virtual in front of this function that I believe is going to be overridden in the child class. So when creating this animal class, I had this belief that my animal class is going to be overridden somewhere down the line. Okay, so yeah, that is what I have. My animal class is going to be overridden somewhere down the line, and yeah, hold on. Yeah, sorry, my animal class is going to be inherited somewhere down the line, and I also have this belief that my animal that this sound method is going to be overridden in my child class. Alright, so 2 points that I knew before I created this animal class. Actually there are 3 points. I will talk about the third point after talking about these 2 points. So first point that I knew is that this class animal that I am creating, okay, is going to be inherited by some other class. Alright, so second thing that I know is this sound function is going to be overridden. Okay, and the third thing that I know is this: my animal class pointer is going to point to a child class object. Alright, so this parent class pointer is going to point to a child class object. So animal class I see is inherited by this cat class. In this cat class I had overridden this sound function, and what did I do? I am using this animal pointer to point to a cat object, right? So these three things that I believed are in fact true. Okay, now this is called a virtual function. Now what does virtual function enable us to do? When I have this parent class pointer, base class pointer, in my case this animal class pointer, when I have this animal class pointer pointing to a derived or child, in my case the cat class object, okay, when I have an animal class pointer pointing to a cat class object, and when I use this pointer, this animal class pointer pointing to a cat class object, when I use this pointer to call this sound method, okay, now where does this sound method exist? Sound method exists both in animal and cat class, right? Animal, the sound method that is there in my animal class is the original sound method. The one that is there in my cat class, this is the overridden new sound method that overrides the original sound method, right? So I have that. Now when I write virtual, and when I use this pointer, animal pointer pointing to cat object, when I use this pointer to call this sound method, the sound method that is overridden in my cat class, in my child class, that method is being called, right? Without this, let me go ahead and demonstrate that to you. I have written this virtual in front. Okay, when I did not write this keyword virtual, when I executed this sound method using this animal class pointer pointing to cat class object, so when I had this was calling this sound method, it printed generic animal sound into the standard output. That means this method was being called, sound method of the parent class was being called. Now that I have added this virtual keyword and I do not make any other change in my program, I have just added this virtual keyword. Let me go ahead and try to compile and run this again. I see that this sound method that is there in my child class, that is being called. Alright. So yeah, this overriding that I did, I am able to take advantage of that. Right? So this is good. So sound method is there, and yeah, this is what I wanted to demonstrate. Now what is this virtual keyword? The virtual keyword enables us to do something called runtime polymorphism. Alright, now a few things that I need to point out. I could have written virtual in my child class as well, okay, and if I now compile this, nothing is going to change. So I can write virtual in front of my child class as well, but I am not going to do that. Even if I don't write this virtual in my child class, nothing changes, okay. So it's still the virtual function. Alright, so a few things about virtual function. This kind of function that has this keyword virtual in front of it are called virtual function. Okay, a few points. Number one, virtual function cannot be static function and it cannot be friend function. Alright, friend function and static function, they cannot be virtual function. Point number one. Point number two, virtual keyword has to be defined in the parent class that is eventually going to be inherited by some child class. Alright, so in my parent class it is compulsory that I have to write this virtual function if I want this thing to happen, that when I use this pointer, and that is my next point. The next point, let me tell you the next point. In order to access this virtual function, what do? I use a pointer or a reference variable. Alright, so these are the 3 points or 4 points, 3-4 points related to virtual function. It enables runtime polymorphism. What does that mean? I will soon talk about that. Point number two, friend function and static function cannot be virtual function. Point number three, virtual function have to be, this keyword virtual has to be written in the parent class. And point number four, I have to access virtual function using pointer or this thing, reference. Okay, essentially using pointer. Okay. Reference means when I do call by reference, right? So it becomes pointer in call by reference as well, right? So this is what I have. Next, let me talk about what is runtime polymorphism, and let me demonstrate that with an example. Okay, so I have this cat function. Let me remove this age and each. Okay, this attribute age and then this method each. Okay, so I have a cat class and a dog class. Let me make it dog class, and what is the sound that dog makes? It makes the bark sound. I never heard a dog saying bark in my life, so maybe in the West dog says bark. Here dog makes very loud noise. All right. Anyway, that is beyond this philosophy, and this language of dogs is beyond the scope of this course. But then what I am going to do is this. Okay, I am going to have this animal pointer. Okay, so animal is the parent of both this cat and dog, right? I have two classes, cat class and dog class, and this animal class is the parent of both cat class and dog class. So I have inherited animal in both cat and dog. So you can see that code in your screen. All right. So what I am going to do is I am going to call this sound method using this animal pointer. Okay. So this is what I am going to do eventually. Now here is the thing. What is this animal pointer going to point to? It is going to point to one of my child methods. All right. One of my child class. Now what is the class that it is going to point to? Now that is something that the user will decide. Let me give the user a option. Let me write choose one. Okay. So user will write 1 for cat, and user will write 2 for dog. Okay, let me put a tab between cat and dog, and let me put a new line at the end, and then I am going to have an integer called choice. Okay, and then I am going to read the user's input into choice. So I hope all these things make sense to you. C in, C out. I read a input from user and I put that into this integer variable that I have created. I show this string to the user, choose one for cat and 2 for dog. So what user is either going to enter 1 if the user wants to create a cat object, and the user is going to 2 if the user wants to create a dog object. So if the user has chosen cat, so choice is equal to 1, then what I am going to do is this pointer, okay, this animal class pointer is going to point to a cat class object. All right. Else, if choice is equal to, all right, then the user had chosen to create a dog class object, so my pointer is going to point to a dog class object. All right, and then I am going to call using this pointer. Now the pointer is either going to point to a cat class object, or it is going to point to a dog class object. So anyway, this sound method is going to be there, right? So I am going to call this sound method. This is my entire application. All right, and as a good practice, since I did not do this this entire time, I should have done it throughout. Since I am creating this object on the heap, I should free up this object on the heap, right? So I am going to use this pointer, and that is how I free up. Once I allocate some memory on the heap to my object, once I am done using this object, I should remove that from memory. In this program, it does not really matter, because anyway, after printing this sound function, I am going to exit out of the program. So if I exit out of the program, all my memory is going to be freed up anyway. But then in some other program, say you are doing lots of things inside an infinite loop, then once if you create some object, if you create object, integer, anything, if you create some data in the heap, once you are done using this data, free up the area that was allocated to your data, right? So yeah, that is what I have. Yeah, so I hope this program makes sense. I have a animal class pointer, then this pointer is not pointing to anything at the beginning. Then I ask the user to choose, do you want to create a cat object or do you want to create a dog object? So the user is going to choose, and when the user chooses, this pointer based on the user's choice is either going to point to a cat object or a dog object. Then once that is done, once this allocation is done, I am going to use this pointer, this animal class pointer, that is now either pointing to a cat or a dog object. I am using this pointer to call this sound method. Okay, so this sound method is available in both cat and dog object, that is for sure. Why am I so sure about that? Because this animal class pointer is pointing to this cat and dog object, right? Animal class is the parent class. So parent class has this sound method. So sound method is anyway going to be inherited by both cat and dog. Okay, so I know for sure sound method is going to exist. So this line is not, line number 39 is not going to give me any issue, that I know for sure. Now let me go ahead and run this program. Okay, compile and run this program. Okay, I have to choose one. Let me choose cat, and it says meow meow. Sound method is called of the cat object. It says meow meow, and it prints out of the program. Let me do this again. This time I am going to choose dog. Okay, I choose dog, and it says bark bark, right? So yeah, this is what I have. Now say in my parent class, I did not write this keyword virtual. Okay, let me remove this keyword virtual. Okay, let me run this again. What is the problem? Okay, I have to stop this first. Okay, let me go ahead and run this program. Okay, I have to choose cat. Let me go ahead and choose cat. It says generic animal sound. If I choose dog, let me go ahead and choose dog. It is going to say generic animal sound. So what is the problem that we have right now? Right now, if I do not have this keyword virtual, then this overridden function that I had overridden, this sound function that I had overridden in both cat class and in dog class, right? This overridden function is not going to be called. The original function that is there in my animal class, that is going to be called, right? We will look about into this in depth in the next class, why this is happening and how this animal class. Okay, right now think about this animal class pointer. Okay, animal class pointer is a pointer of the animal class, right? So it is either going to point to a cat object or a dog object at some point of time, and then when I call a function, which function is it going to call? Is it going to call the sound of cat, or it is going to call the sound of that is defined in dog, or is it going to call the sound that is already there in my animal class? Alright, so there is this confusion, right? So how to resolve this confusion? We have two data structures that are internally maintained in C++. The compiler will do whatever needs to be done in order to manage this data structure. One is a pointer called vptr, and other is an array, static array called vtable. Okay, we will talk about this in the next class, but right now just understand that if I do not have this keyword virtual in front, and if I, no matter whether I have this cat or dog or whatever that this parent class pointer is pointing to, this, when I call this method, any method, the original method that is there in my parent class, that is going to be called, not the overridden one that is there in my child class. Instead, if I write virtual in front of the method name. Now when I call this method, the method that is there in my child class, that is going to be called, right? So I had chosen cat, and when I call this method sound, this overridden method, this method that is there in my child class, that prints meow meow to the screen, that is being called. Now let me do one thing. Inside my dog function, let me have this noise. Instead of sound, I have this noise method. Okay. Now let me do one thing. Let me go ahead and try to run this program. Okay, I am asked to choose. I choose dog, and it says generic animal sound, right? So what is happening now? I have this dog class. In my dog class, I did not override this sound function, right? So I had overridden, but now I renamed that sound function. So right now, I am not overriding this this sound function in my dog class, right? So when I use this pointer, animal class pointer, that is pointing to a dog class object, when I call the sound method, the method that is inherited is being called, right? So I did not override anything. The previous method that was there in my parent class, that itself is being called. So no confusion should be here regarding this thing. All right. So let me change that back to sound. Okay. And let me remove all these things. Okay. Now let us talk about a little bit of what is runtime polymorphism. What you saw in this program that you have on your screen, what you are looking at right now, this is an example of runtime polymorphism. What is runtime polymorphism? This animal pointer, okay, what is the type that of object that is bound to, okay, what is the type of object that it is pointing to, right? So that is not decided in compile time. Okay, this decision takes place when after the user chooses, right? So this user choice, after the user chooses, it is this animal pointer is going to either point to a cat object or a dog object. So this decision takes place in runtime. All right. So this is called runtime polymorphism. Okay, and this is enabled because of something called late binding. So this binding an object to this pointer, this happens late in my run when I run this program, right? Contrast that to what we had before when I did not have this virtual keyword. When I did not have this virtual keyword, then during compile time itself, what is the function that is going to be called? The function that I am going to call would be in my parent class, right? So overridden function in my child class is anyway not going to be called. So I already knew beforehand, when I did not have this virtual function, what to call when running this program. So this binding, this pointer, when I call this sound method using this pointer, this PTR animal class pointer, when I call this sound method, what is the method that is going to be called? This method that was there in my parent class. I already knew all this thing in my compile time when I was compiling this program, right? So that would have been early binding. But now after I have used this virtual keyword in my parent class. Now in compile time I do not know which method I am going to call, right? So now if the pointer points to a dog object, I am going to call the sound method that is there in my dog object. If it points to a cat object, I am going to call this sound method that is there in my cat object. So whether it points to a dog object or a cat object, that depends on the choice of the user, right? So during compile time, I do not know which function is going to be called, right? So this binding of which function to call, this decision is done late in my execution. All right. So this is called late binding, right? And this is something that enables runtime polymorphism. So this sound line, this line number 39, what is this going to execute? This is either going to execute a child class or in okay, let me do one more thing. Okay, if user chooses 1, my pointer is going to point to a cat object. If user chooses 2, my pointer is going to point to a dog object. Else, if user chooses anything else, it is going to point to an animal object, right? So an object of the parent class itself, right? So I can do that. Let me go ahead and compile, and if I choose 1, it is going to print meow meow. Let me compile and run once again. If I choose 2, it is going to print bark bark, and let me do that once again. If I choose 3, it is going to say generic animal sound. So yeah, this line number 41 stays the same, but the method that is going to be called depends on user choice, really, right? So same name, same method name, same line of code, executing different methods, right? Same line of code executing different methods depending on user's choice, depending on some application logic, right? So this is called runtime polymorphism. Okay, so this is what I have. Now this is one application of runtime polymorphism that you can see on your screen. This is a very simple application. You can think of more complicated application. We will of course see more complicated application 2 classes down the line. Alright, so this is what I have. Now let me do one more thing. Let me show you another application of runtime polymorphism. Say I have a function func, okay, and this is going to take a animal class pointer, so a parent class pointer as input. Okay, let me call this x, and what it is going to do is it is going to simply call this sound method of x. Okay, so this is a function that I have. Now let me do one thing. Let me create a animal object A, let me create a cat object C, and let me create a dog object B. Okay, and then I am going to call this function with, this is taking a pointer of animal class, so I am going to send the address of this animal object, right? So pointer is a means address. Okay, then I am going to do this func, and I can send address of this cat, sorry, and I can send address of dog. Alright, so line number 35 and 36 I am calling this function that takes as animal class pointer with the address of this cat object and dog object, and that is not a problem. Why? Because the animal class pointer can point to a cat, means a child class, a cat or dog class object, right? A parent class pointer can point to a child class object. So because of that reason, although I am taking this parent class as a parameter, as a to this function, I can send this parent class object, but I can also send child class object, right? So let me go ahead and compile this, and yeah, if I send this parent class object, I get this generic animal sound. If I send this cat object, I get this meow meow. If I send this dog object, I get this bark bark. Okay, so depending on which object I send, this function is going to output this thing, right? So think about why this function might be useful. This function right. It takes means I don't know from before what is the type of object that I am going to get, right? So it takes different types of object, this function, but then using this parent class as parameter, parent class pointer as parameter, I can take the parent class itself as the object. I can take child class objects as I can take the parent class object as parameter. I can take child class object as parameter. So really it gives me lots of power in this function. Okay, so yeah, this is what I have. Understand this feature right now. Think about applications on your own, and yeah, that is what I have. Okay, so this is virtual function. Virtual function enables us to do what? Without virtual function, you first have to understand what happens without virtual function. If I did not have virtual function, when I had a parent class pointer pointing to a child class object, so you can see why parent class pointer pointing to a child class object is an advantage, because we can create function like this. I can do runtime polymorphism because of all these things. This is also runtime polymorphism. Alright, another example of runtime polymorphism. So my parent class pointer can point to a child class object. That enables runtime polymorphism, a very useful feature in C++. So if I did not have this virtual keyword, what would happen is, when I have this parent class pointer pointing to a child class object, and when I use this parent class pointer to call a method, the method that is there in my parent class, that is going to be called. Okay, but the method that I have overridden in my child class, that is not being called. Now instead, if I use this virtual keyword, now I can call this method that I have overridden in my child class, right? Not the one that is there in my parent class. Alright, so this is the advantage. Okay, and because of this advantage of runtime polymorphism, we use virtual keyword. Now let us really think about this thing. Let me remove this name as well. Okay, and I have only the sound. Okay, now I really am not going to use this animal object. Okay, animal object I am never going to create. The class animal only is going to be inherited by some other class that I am going to use. Let me remove this dog class as well. I am just going to explain a few things. Okay, we will write main function again later. So say I know this, right? Animal class, I am not going to create an object of animal class. Animal class, the main purpose of animal class is that it is going to be inherited by some child class. And so why do I use this animal class? I am going to use it as a skeleton, okay, as a architecture that my child class has to follow. So in my animal class, I will write this sound function does not really do anything, right? So yeah, this is what I have. This sound function I do not really need. Okay, so I am going to write this. Okay, this what you see on your screen, I do not have the implementation of the sound class anymore. I have just written equal to 0. Okay, after the rest of the thing remains same, the signature remains same. Okay, previously it was virtual void sound, now also it is virtual void sound, but then I give a equal and then I write a 0. This creates something called a pure virtual function. A pure virtual function is one that is not implemented at all. Okay, I don't have any implementation of this sound method in my animal class. Was I saying sound class? Sound is a method. I should have said sound method. Alright. So I make lots of slip of tongue, but then understand things from context. Okay. Anyway, let's go ahead and let me try to do one thing. Let me try to create an animal class object. Okay, so this is the code to create an animal class object. Let me try to compile this. I get a compile time error. What is the compile time error? It says the error is that cannot declare variable a. So I cannot create this object a of the abstract type animal because the following virtual function are pure within animal. So this sound virtual function is pure within animal. Okay, so if I have a pure virtual function, that is a function that is not implemented, this is the syntax. Why is this syntax like this? There is no reason, right? The designers, the creator of C++ decided that it should look like this, and therefore the syntax is like this. Asking why this syntax look like this is asking why do I write int to represent an integer? Why don't I write int e? Okay, because int e is not the choice that they made. They made this choice that you represent an integer, I have to write int. Okay, so that is a syntax choice that the creators made. There is no deep meaning or logic behind this thing. Okay, so this is a syntax that says that this function, this is a function, and this is a pure virtual function. A pure virtual function is one that is not implemented. So I cannot create a object of this type, okay, of this class animal. Now what is this animal class? Animal class has a pure virtual function, right? So any class that has at least one pure virtual function is called a abstract class. Okay, so animal is an abstract class, and that is what it says in over here. Error, I cannot create variable a to be of abstract type animal. So animal is an abstract class. All right, now abstract class is what? A abstract class is a class that has at least one pure virtual function. That is a function that is defined with this syntax that does not have a implementation. Now, why might I need such a class? This kind of class are meant to be inherited. Okay. Now this class will be inherited by some other class. For example, here I have inherited this animal class, and in my inherited class, in my child class, I am going to create this function, right? The actual implementation of this function is going to be there in my child class. So here I have this sound class implemented. Now I have seen I cannot create a object of animal class, but I can create an object of cat class. Right? Cat class is the child class that I inherit from animal class. Animal class is the abstract class. It is abstract because it has a pure virtual function. Now this child class, I can create an object out of this because here there is no more pure virtual function. This pure virtual function that was there in the animal class that I have inherited, I have an implementation of this pure virtual function, right? So sound is the pure virtual function in my animal class. In my cat class, I have a implementation of the sound function, okay, sound method. So I no longer have a pure virtual function. That is, I don't no longer have a function without implementation. All the functions that are declared are defined. Okay. So yeah, I can create a cat object, and let me call this method c.sound. And when I call this method, it is going to print meow meow to the screen as I would expect, right? So this is what is happening. So you might have this confusion that what will happen if I have a pointer. Okay, so let's not keep things in doubt. Let me now use this pointer. C is now a pointer of cat type pointing to a cat object, and I can create an object, okay, of cat class Now cat class does what? Cat class inherits from an abstract class. Animal is the abstract class. Okay, cat class inherits from abstract class, and it no longer has any pure virtual function. So all the unimplemented function, all this pure virtual function that were there in my parent class, that are implemented in cat class. Okay, so no longer any pure virtual function. So cat class is called a concrete class, right? We can create objects out of concrete class, like I am creating an object of cat class, and then I call this method sound. Now one interesting thing is, if I had, say, another virtual function, okay, 0, and this is what I have. Now let me try to execute. Okay, say now I once again have that error that I had before. Okay, cat, I cannot create an object out of cat. Why can't I create an object out of cat? Because object, you can see on your screen, object of abstract class type cat is not allowed. Pure virtual function each has no overrider. Okay, that is what it says. Now animal class, you look at this animal class, it has two pure virtual function, sound and each, right? In cat class I have inherited from animal class. Okay, here I have implemented this sound function, but then there is one pure virtual function that is still to be implemented, right? So this each function is not implemented in my cat class. Okay, so cat class therefore has one pure virtual function. And what is the definition of abstract class? A abstract class is a class that has at least one pure virtual function, right? Cat class has this each function that is not implemented, pure virtual function. So yeah, cat class is a abstract class. Now I cannot create an object out of cat class because we cannot create object out of abstract class. Now let me do one thing. Let me create another class called Persian cat. Okay, this is going to inherit from cat. Okay, and here what I am going to do is I am going to implement this each function, right? I am going to see how. So what does Persian cat eat? Persian cat eats Persian food. And let me put an end line. And yeah, right now Persian cat. Let's think about what this class is. Okay, Persian cat inherits from cat. Okay, I know cat is a pure virtual function, abstract class that has one pure virtual function, each. Now Persian cat implements each. Okay, now animal class had two virtual function. This cat class implements one of them. So cat class has one virtual function remaining. This Persian cat class implements that remaining pure virtual function. Okay, so Persian cat has no more pure virtual function left to be implemented. So Persian cat is a concrete class. Now I do one thing. I have a Persian cat class pointing to a Persian cat object, and I call this sound method and the it method of this Persian cat object using this Persian cat pointer. Okay, let me go ahead and compile. Okay, I did not write semicolon in here. Let me go ahead and compile once again. Okay, so line number 26, I have C using this Persian cat pointer. I am calling this sound method of Persian cat object, and it says meow meow. And then in line number 27, I am using the same Persian cat pointer to call this eats method of Persian cat object, and it says Persian food. So Persian cat eats Persian food. Okay, probably shawarma roll. So this is what I have. All right. Now there is this one thing that I want to point out. Although I cannot create objects out of abstract classes, I can create pointers out of these abstract classes, right? So it is not animals, it should be animal. Okay, I can create pointer out of this abstract class. So a animal is an abstract class and it is parent of this cat class, and that is a parent of Persian cat. So animal is kind of grandparent of Persian cat. So animal class can point to a child class object. Persian cat is child of child. Anyway, that relation stands. Animal class pointer can point to a Persian cat object, right? So let me, that is what I have in my screen right now. Animal class pointer pointing to a Persian cat object. Let me go ahead and compile, run this code, and I get the same output. Okay, that is not surprising. All right, but the takeaway here is that yeah, I cannot create a object of abstract class, but my abstract class, I can create a pointer of abstract class type. All right, so that is what I can see on my screen, and then I can do this as well. Cat. Okay, this is directly the parent of Persian cat, and if I compile and run this, once again I should get the same output, and that is what I get. Okay, so this is what I have. Now this is abstract class, pure virtual function, and concrete class. A concrete class is in this case this Persian cat class. So all this pure virtual function is not there in Persian cat class. Every function that is there is fully implemented. Unlike cat class and animal class, cat class has one pure virtual function, animal class has two pure virtual function. So if there is at least one pure virtual function, my class is going to be an abstract class, and I cannot create an object out of that, but I can create a pointer of that, right? So interesting, this is what I have. Now let me, before ending this class, let me give you one quick, very small demonstration of why this might be useful. Say I have a stack base class, okay, and this is a this is the skeleton of stack. Okay, you know what is a stack? We can first in or last in first out. Okay, the one that is on top, that is removed from the top. You know what is a stack. Let me not spend much time talking about that. So a stack essentially is going to have, okay, you can implement a stack using array, you can implement a stack using linked list. So whatever you use, there are two functions that stack is going to have. Stack is going to have a void push, that same, I have a stack of integer that is going to take a integer as a parameter, and it is going to have a int pop that let me remove all this, and it is going to have a int pop that will remove the whatever the integer that is there on the top of my stack and return that integer, right? So I will either do one thing. I will either create stack with array, okay, and what I am going to do is I am going to inherit from stack base, okay, or I am going to create stack using linked list, and once again I am going to inherit from stack base. Okay, so let me not do this right now, I will do that soon. So I am going to have stack array. It is going to take this stack base as is base class, right? It's parent class. So stack array inherits from stack base. Stack base is an abstract class. Why is it an abstract class? Because I have two pure virtual function. Let me create stack array as concrete class. I am going to implement this to pure virtual function, right? So let me implement push. It is going to take some integer data, and I am not going to do too much. Let me not actually create the array, create the stack, but I am just going to print out insert into stack array. Okay, this data. Okay, and sorry, I am going to pop, and this is going to print out prop from stack array, and of course this has to return some integer, so I am just returning 0. Okay, so the actual stack logic I am not going to implement in this class. That will come much later in the course. Okay, so this is what I have. Stack array, there is no more pure virtual function, so this is a concrete class. Now I am going to do one thing. I am going to use this stack base pointer to point to a stack array object. Alright, then what do I do? Using this pointer I am going to push say 2, then using this pointer I push 3, and then using this pointer I push I pop something. So this is my application logic, right? So this is my application logic. Okay, and let me go ahead and compile this. Okay, when I compile this, line number 25, I say push into this stack array. So I insert into stack array 2. Then in line number 26, I insert 3 into the stack array, and in line number 27, I pop from the stack array. Right. So in these two lines, 25 and 26, I am pushing things into the stack, and in line number 27, I am popping something from the stack. So you can imagine that in a real life application, my application logics are going to be hundreds and thousands of lines of code, right? So yeah, that is something that is going to be there. Now say in your application you are creating this stack using an array. You figure out that creating stack using an array is not helping you. Okay, so you are say either wasting space, or you do not have enough space. So array has this problem, right? So you decide that one day you are going to use linked list. Okay, so someone comes up and gives you a stack implementation using a linked list. Okay, so let us create that, and let me call this stack ln. Okay, so insert into stack linked list the data, and this is pop from stack linked list. So I have now two classes that inherits from stack base. One is stack array and one is stack linked list. Okay, now you have this stack linked list. Now what do I do? Do I go to every line in my application logic and change these things? Right? Do I create a new object and change in every line? That would be too cumbersome, right? So I simply make one change over here. My base class was pointing to this stack, right? This stack array. Now my base class is pointing to the stack linked list. What do I know from my base class? I know that this to function with this signature push will take one integer as parameter and it is returning void. Pop is going to return an integer as parameter, and I know what push does, I know what pop does, right? So I am just concerned with this architecture, this skeleton. I am not concerned with later on how these are actually implemented. I simply stick one, either an array or a linked list, and I use this base class pointer to actually do my work in my application logic. So in my application logic, I was using this stack base pointer, right? That is what I was doing. Now, previously I had a stack array. Now I have changed to stack linked list. I go ahead and compile. You see the output is going to change from stack insert into stack array. Now it is inserting into stack linked list 2, insert into stack linked list 3, and pop from stack linked list, right? So all these thousands of line of application code that I may have, I do not need to make any changes in that. So I have made a very big change, right? I am changing from array to linked list, okay? But then this big change is hidden away, abstracted from my application code, application logic, right? So think about this. This is a very big advantage, that my application logic need not be concerned with what is the data structure that is working behind the scene. All this implementation of push and pop is going to change, but I know for sure my push is going to return nothing. It is going to return void, and it is going to take an integer, and my pop is going to return a integer, right? So with that knowledge and the knowledge of what this push and pop are going to do, push is going to put something at the top of the stack, pop is going to return that something from the top of the stack, right? With this knowledge itself, I can use this stack base, and I can go ahead and create my application, right? So yeah, this is a very simple demonstration of abstract class, pure virtual function, okay? And previously we talked about virtual function and pure virtual function. The difference is that in virtual function, if instead of pure virtual function, if I had virtual function, that would mean that the implementation is there in my parent class as well, okay? So parent class would not be an abstract class, there would be implementation, it would be a virtual function. I can create object out of that, okay? That would also be a concrete class. My child class is also going to be a concrete class. But if instead of simple virtual function, if I use pure virtual function, my parent class is going to be abstract, and I cannot create an object out of my parent class. But then I can create pointer out of this parent class, and that is going to that I can make that pointer point to a child class object, right? So I hope you understood the meaning of what these things are doing, okay? This virtual function, pure virtual function, abstract class, concrete class, these are the 4 different concepts that we saw in this video. So I hope you understood everything that I demonstrated in this video. But then in the next video we are going to talk about this again. In the next video instead of talking in front of an IDE, I am going to come up with a I am going to come up with PPT and pen, and I am going to write things and explain like I do on Blackboard, right? So that is a different way of teaching. This is a different way of teaching. Both have their own places. I can teach lot of things over there that I cannot teach here. So we will go a little bit deep inside the hood, right? So here we are just programmers, right? What is happening behind the scene, that we are going to talk about in the next class. and after that we are really going to look at some very good application of this abstract class. Okay, so that would be when we look at abstract data type. Now there are lots of, one thing that I want to make clear before I end this video. There are three contexts where you are listening to this word abstract. Abstract class, this philosophy of abstraction, and this thing called abstract data type. Okay, so these are three different things that are not related. These are three different things. Okay, there is conceptual relation between them, but these are three different ideas. Okay, just because this word abstract appears in all these three different ideas does not mean that they are the same thing. Okay, so abstraction is a philosophy that abstract data type and abstract class is going to give. Abstract class is a different thing and abstract data type is a different thing. Okay, so we will talk about abstract data type in the video after the next video. Alright, so I hope you understood all the four primary things that we talked about in this video. They are virtual function, pure virtual function, abstract class, and concrete class. So I hope you understood everything in this video. If not, you can of course reach out to me using WhatsApp, using mail, or by writing your doubt in the comment section below. Anyway, thank you for watching this video and see you in the next video.